Greetings duelists and welcome to another video. So, Battles of Legends Monsters Revenge has already been released in the TCG. It has been like around 3 days or so, and it's still up to debate whether or not the set is going to be impactful or not. Like right now, there's the remote YCS going on, as well as YCS in South America, if I'm not mistaken. So after those big events this weekend, we will probably understand and see more of if Battles of Legend Monsters Revenge did make an impact, or if enough players have tested with new cards from that set that really could like bolster new strategies besides the ones we've already known. What I'm gonna showcase you today is a deck that I chose to run with the release of Duality. For us to understand like how Duality functions, you need to find like a strategy that kind of gives you an overlap of what many cards can you use and how many like situations can you bring up where this card could be useful. So what I'm gonna do now is I guess I'll talk about the deck that I chose. I'll talk about the ratios, and then I'll go into the testing grounds to just show you like the different bridges you can do with this card, because this card is for something very similar to Small World. If you remember Small World, you know that that card was very important when it came to deck building, because you needed a lot of ways to like bridge on towards your cards, and knowing without like breaking the consistency of your deck. And I feel like this card is very similar to that. Like there are so many powerful things you can do, but at the same time you need to be wary of what you're doing, what card are you using, whether or not this card's a brick. Like I tested a lot with this deck. I was testing around ratios. There were some cards that I had in my deck. There were some engines that I had in this deck that are that I kind of cut at the end of the day because they just didn't synergize with the cards that I'm playing as much. But yeah, so the deck that I chose is Dragonmaid, Dragon Link, or like a Dragonmaid hybrid of Dragon Link, if you want to call it. The number one reason I chose the Dragonmaids themselves is because I feel like in a dragon strategy, these cards are really strong on their own. They provide one card combos, they provide like follow up, they provide like card interaction with your opponent. There are some synergies with Duality with the Dragonmaid cards. For example, you can Duality Red Ice Darkness Metal into the Dragonmaid Shoe, and Dragonmaid Shoe is like a boss monster already on its own. You can use Duality to turn Shoe into like Dispater for example, or turn Dispater into Shoe, like either or, which you should tell because I'm running like the Bystials in there. The TCG gave us this new card. It gave us like Cloud Beast Malong, which is a really good addition to the game because it is another Duality target with the Bestial monsters. But yeah, I just felt like Dragonmaids was like the best pick. Like you can play standard Dragon Link if you want. You can play it without the Dragonmaids. You can play like other versions. But I felt like this was like the most fun, or like the most interactive way that you can find and use for Duality. But yeah, I guess I could go over the ratios. Like for starters, I'm playing the Red Ice package. Like the main reason I chose these is because it's just a one card seals. Like, and when it comes to dragons, like if you're going to play like a very like high deck ratio, you you kind of want a way to like make one card into like some amount of interruption towards your opponent, in because that way if they do interrupt you in any way, shape or form, you can keep playing through their hand traps. So like the black metal engine, like the black metal, the chamber Dragonmaid, and the Portal Dragonmaid, they all do the same thing. Like they all can get you to seals with one card. But if you know me and you know how I construct my decks, you know that I like having extenders in my deck, and just like having cards that can extend with the cards that I already have, like is really ideal for me. So like these are all like one card combos, but at the same time they serve as extenders. For the bestial ratios, we have 3 Lobelion, 3 Magnemite, Druid Swarm, Baldrake, and Saronir. I think this is not an incorrect amount. You can play more of them, especially since you're playing 60 cards. But I kind of felt like this was a good enough ratios. Like mana can recur from graveyard. That's why I'm just playing like one of the other ones. If they ever end up getting banished, you can recover them. You can recover them with like Branded Regain, for example, or Dispater. So I just felt like this was like a correct ratios. I don't want to play too many of them because then I'll find the problem where I find a matchup where I want to use these with, but I can't interact with my opponent and then they just become bricks. Levianeer and Chaos Emperor, I feel like these two cards should be staple in any deck that plays Bystials. Like Levianeer is just being a blowout card in general, and like Chaos Emperor just being recursion for cards that you end up banishing with your Bystials. And getting returning Bystials themselves. So this is like another recursion card. As you can see, I'm also playing Chaos Space. Chaos Space is for these and as well as these. So just another card that kind of serves the function of like one card combos. Obviously, it's 1.5 cards because you're dumping a card for it, but just having a way to keep recurring your banishes is just really good. This gets you to Lobelion as well, and Lobelion will get snowballs advantage with your other bestial cards. But yeah, that's it for that. These are engine requirements. All these are engine requirements. I'm playing the Rokket engine. I feel like this is the best engine to pair with like any bestial deck or with any dragon deck, including Dragonmaids themselves. Like, I'm not playing like the Delindrous Dragon or any other Rokket cards like that. The only cards that I have the synergies with the Rockets besides Striker Dragon are pretty much Triple Burst and Burrow End. I don't like need to try to get into heavy link combos with the Rokket. The Rockets are there pretty much as extenders. For the most part. I'm playing the 1 copy of Seifert. It's not here for the add effect, it's mainly here for the recursion effect. You can dump it off Ravine and recur back like Lobelion, for example, or these two guys. So that's it for that. But yeah, pretty much everything else is self-explanatory. I'm playing Rivalry because even though this is not good into every matchup, I feel like in a format as open as the one that we're at right now, one of the more popular decks, like for example Kashtira and Lifetime Runic Sprite, they pretty much just fall to this card. With the popularity of Assault Synchron, we're probably going to see a lot of Synchro hybrids. They also fold down to this card. So I just felt like in a strategy like this one, this card is pretty much perfect. As you can see, I'm not playing Chaos Angel in the extra deck. That's something you can debate for. You can legit just play that card in this deck if you want. I opted to just stick with an old Dragon extra deck just to give value to Rivalry. I guess the caveat and the downside of doing that is that you will lose to like there can be only one more. You can lose to like other cards that pretty much like lock you into your types or like pretty much like fight against the types that you're running. But I just felt like this is a really good card, like just for what you're trying to do with this deck. I won't talk about this side deck too much. The only card I will talk about is Quackima Rodrigo. I kind of wanted to play this card in the main deck, like a bunch of times. Like I've mainly been facing a lot of matchups where this card pretty much overperforms. Labyrinth is a good example. The Dragon Mirror match, Invoked, Assault Synchro decks. Like pretty much a lot of strategies are not prepared for this card, especially when you summon it off like Heretic Seal, and it does hinder your deck a little bit, but you do play Romulus, so it's not like the worst thing ever. You can also just tribute summon a Bystial over this if you ever need to like unlock yourself back into your engine. But yeah, I feel like this was a really good inclusion, like into the deck. I feel like if you're playing any dragon strategy, you should really consider playing this card, just because you will find a lot of matchups where this is useful. And this paired up with Rivalry is just a death sentence for a lot of decks. Extra deck, I think there's not much to even explain. Like I only run in one house Dragonmaids. Some people play multiples, but I feel like with Branded Regained, Duality, and like Chaos Space, you have enough ways of like returning it to the extra deck, so you can reuse Chew if you ever need to. Borolo Furious Dragon, this is mainly here because of Dragonmaid Changeover. It's another fusion monster you can fuse with it. Like the Dragonmaid Changeover can fuse into any dragon. Like you don't even have to use Dragonmaid as materials. So that's really good for this. It's also really good against like back row matchups and like slower matchups as well. You just summon this card and like your opponent has to contest to this. Another thing about this is it is a duality target. You can duality tribute Lubellion into summoning this guy, which is something important to note. I already mentioned the one has Dragonmaid. Boral Savage, this is just like a standard play you do with your Rockets whenever you're trying to combo off. Another Synchro 8 that I'm playing is Scarlight. I feel like when it comes to like breaking boards, this is a really good card to use. Sometimes what I end up doing is like I bait a lot of my opponent's interruptions, and then I just end up like summoning this card, and it because of blowout. I already brought up Malong. Malong is pretty much a duality target. You can synchro it into this using like Tracer and like Nurse, for example. But it's mainly here because of duality. And if you ever end up facing like a Dogmatica Maximus or something like that, that pretty much like tackles your extra deck, this is just another disruption tool. Another card I'm running is Atom. Atom is mainly here because you do play a bunch of Bystials and you do run them along as well. So like you have enough ways to get to this. It's not super consistent. You can actually cut this card out. At one point I was playing Shadow's Light. At one point I was playing Shadow's Light, and with Shadow's Light I would tag a Bystial and summon Malong alongside the Bystial, and then I would overlay them both for a tome. So that's another play to consider if you actually do play Shadow's Light. The reason I'm not playing Shadow's Light and I'm playing like Duality is because Shadow's Light is only for dark monsters, and it's only during the main phase. Whether with Duality you can tag it dark into lights and vice versa. You can also like dodge cards. You can also use this to push through boards. You can also like use this to secure OTKs, do battle phase tactics. One play I did was I opened Duality and I opened like Parlor Dragonmaid. That's all I did, all I had. I Parlor Dragonmaid into seals, and then my opponent's turn I sealed summoning red eyes, and then I Duality the red eyes into like the shoe, and you cannot do that with Shadow's Light. Because it will be on their opponent's turn. But yeah, this is very, very questionable. It's up to debate. These are all standard. If you're playing a Dragon Link deck, you'll probably see these 6 cards. You probably might see even a few more Link monsters beside these, but this is like a standard ratio. I do want to play more seals. I kind of felt like playing more seals at one point, but again, you have like Duality, Chaos Space, and Regained to return the seals, so it's not as big of a deal. The last card to talk about is Albion. Albion the Sanctifier Dragon. This is another really good Duality target. Your usual targets for this are pretty much either your level 8 Synchros, or your Levianeer, or your Chaos Emperor. And like I really like this card. Like even though the effect is only on your opponent's turn, it kind of keeps recurring back your monsters. So it's good for interrupting your opponent if you have like certain plays. Like for example, if you have a Dissipator that you already used that's in your graveyard, you can bring that back. If you have Boral Furious Dragon that you fusion summon properly, you can bring that back. If somehow your Dragonmaid shoe ends up being like kaiju'd or eaten or like negated and falls into the graveyard, you can recur it back with that as well. Just really good card overall. But yeah, this is not like the best strategy for Duality and Shadow's Light, but it was a very fun concept. I tested it a bunch with it a lot, and I had a lot of fun, and I feel like in the right hands this could do very well in a format like this one. Like under the correct ratio, the correct skill set, you're drawing properly, and you know, typical Yu-Gi-Oh fashion. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Keep practicing and keep doing.